Hi everybody, welcome back to week 4, day 4. This is going to be our math part, and I wanted it separate because I'm going to introduce something we have practiced before, but we're going to think about numbers that are greater than 10. So greater means bigger, larger, and we're going to work with numbers 11 to 20, and we're going to think about them and talk about them a special way. Now, since we are working with numbers greater than 10, I wanted to show you what that's going to look like in your math using these 10 frames. And we've used 10 frames a lot, so this is very, very familiar to you. I have my 10 frames one on top of the other because I did not have space to put them next to. But when you are doing your math, a lot of times they'll be next to each other like so. I just don't have space for that. So on my magnet board here, so I'm going to put them one on top of the other. But I'm still talking just about these two 10 frames. And when we are putting 10 frames and we're looking at them, it's really a good idea to use two color counters. And these are what they call counters. These we used in class. On one side they would be red, and on the other side they would be yellow. Now, if you want to make a 10 frame, it's not hard to do. You can just make a rectangle and then divide it in the middle first. And then you draw 4 lines, 1, 2, 3, 4 lines, because there is a line at the end that will make the first and last space. So you only draw 4 lines, and that will make enough spaces. Now you can make your own 2 color counters also. Just get a piece of paper, or if you have some colored paper, I have some red and some yellow paper. So I could glue this paper together, and I could trace some circles. I could trace a quarter, or I could trace a penny, or I could trace anything that I want. A little bit bigger is probably better. You could trace I have a bottle of screen cleaner here, and I just noticed that the bottom, it's a cylinder and the bottom is a circle shape, so I could even trace that onto my paper. So glue the paper together, trace it on, cut it out. When you cut it out, you're going to have a circle that's red on one side and yellow on the other. Now I'm using red and yellow, but you don't have to. If you have paper that's blue and orange, use that. If you have sticky notes that are 2 different colors, I have a lot of sticky notes in my house, but I might have only a sticky note that is green and pink. So I would put these together and I would glue them, and then on one side I would have this turquoise color and on the other side I would have pink. It doesn't really matter what the color is as long as they're different. So the first thing we're going to do is we're filling up a 10 frame. And when we fill up a 10 frame, we know automatically as a snap that there are 10. We can count them to make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yes. So there's a 10 frame, that's its name. There will always be 10. And then we're going to put the other color counters, and mine are yellow, in the other 10 frame to make numbers. So we're going to make numbers by showing them in the 10 frame. And I'm going to move this over just a little bit because I might write some numbers for you. So I'm going to move my little paw eraser, slide these over, and I'm going to make a number. I'm going to make a number using some of my yellow counters. And here's the number I'm going to make with my counters. Now, when I count, if I am a really good counter, and I know you've been practicing counting, if I'm a good counter, I know that the number that comes after 10. So I could just say 10. And the next number is 11. I know that in my brain already. So I can just count on from there. I don't don't need to count each one by itself when I already know this is 10. So it's 10, 11, 12, 13. Now, how do we write 13? We write 13. I need to get a marker out here. Did not get one out. We write 13 by making a 1 that stands for 1 10 frame, and that's going to be in the 10 spot. I have to put that in the 10 spot. And then 3 more yellows. And this is the 3 ones by themselves. Okay? So that's how we're going to write 13. And when you're doing this page, if you're doing it with me and you're writing numbers on your math page in a minute, I want you to have this next to you so that you are writing the numbers correctly. So start where the numbers start and write them correctly, because I'm very picky about number writing. Math, I need to be able to see what you're writing. Okay, so that was 13. Now, if I am looking at this 10 frame, these two 10 frames, I could describe them another way. I could say this is 10 and 3 more. 10 and 3 more. 10 and 3 more is still what? 10 and 3 more is still 13. 13. So that's what this is all about. I'm going to make another number here. I'm going to add some more color counters. And I want you to think about this and think about what you would say to describe these 10 frames, the way Mrs. Rubel just did. So think about that for just a minute. And I already know some people would be raising their hand to have me call on them, but since this is a video, I'm going to say that a lot of you probably figured out that the way we're going to describe these 10 frames is there are 10 and 6 more. Now, that's not the only way to say it, and I love being in class with you because you all have a very unique way of looking at it, and in math, we could say it a lot of different ways. We could say, well, one 10 frame is full and the other 10 frame has 6. We could say 10, and then we could count in our brain 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I see 16. We could do a lot of different things. But today we're putting together and taking apart numbers greater than 10. So we're going to think about them as 10 and 6 more. And we're going to write numbers and take apart numbers. Okay? So that one was 16. You would write a 1 and a 6. I'm going to actually write another number. I'm going to take these off because I'm going to write a number on the side here. Okay, here's my number. It's no secret. It's number 14. I wrote it a little sideways. Sorry about that. It's number 14. And now I want to describe it using 10 frames. So when we do this together, you'll be using circles or X's. But right now, if you have your 2 color counters, I want you to think about how would I make this number in the 10 frame. And I'm looking at it and looking at it. I know I'm going to have one 10 frame full. So I really already know that because we're always going to have this full 10 frame. And there it is. That's 10. And this shows me how many more I need. This shows me how many more, right? So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, because that's a 4. And now I could say, oh, I could count these and I could figure out that this is number 14. But I'm sure you already know that. I really hope that you're practicing your counting. Okay, so let's put this board aside and let's make some numbers from 11 to 15, and we know that's it. So I want you to put just some X's, and you're going to show 10 in one color. So get your two favorite colors. Today, I think I will use blue, but I think I will use orange for my second color. And so I'm going to show 10 by putting, I'm going to do circles today. Can you see my circles? Yes. Okay. I'm going to fill up this 10 frame because I need to make 10. And in order to do that, the 10 frame has to be full. And now I'm going to write the number 10. Now this should be written with my regular pencil, not with colors. We know that. Straight line down, none of those funny little hooks or lines on there. One. Straight line down. I'm very picky about that. And a 0. So there's 10. And now I want to make that number that we just made. I want to use 4 more. So I'm going to put 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And in this box, I'm going to write how many are in this 10 frame, which is 4. Down, back, down some more. There's 4. Oops, I wrote it in colored pencil, didn't I? I made a mistake. Just do over it in my regular pencil. And now I want to look and say 10 and 4 more, and I'm going to write that number. Here's the 10, 1 10 frame, and 4 more. You can see the 4 takes the place of the 0. 10 and 4 more. All right, let's move on. We've done a lot of practice with this, so I think this is going to be very easy for you. On this page, you're going to count these 10 are always there in every 10 frame. And you're going to describe the 10 frames by putting 10 for this 10 frame and how many more are in this 10 frame. So for our example, there are 10 here. I guess they are ice cubes melting. 10 ice cubes, and so I'm going to trace the number 10. And one more. Then I write the number, the complete number to the side this time. And that's going to be 1 10 and 1 more, and that will be 11. You could count it to make sure. Now I want you to do the next one. How many are in this 10 frame? How many this? Trace the number, and so on. Flop it over. Continue to make these numbers the same way. 10 and how many more? Be sure you write 10 and however many more are in this 10 frame below before you trace. You need to describe the 10 frames, okay? And continue. One of these repeats, so they're going to try to trick you. All right, but on the back, we have a different activity. The 10 frames are empty. There is nothing in our 10 frames. So when we do this activity, we need to look below at how the 10 frames are described. This one is 10 and 2 more is, and we're going to find out, we're going to write that number right here. 10 and 2 more is how many? So we need to fill up this 10 frame. I'm going to fill it up just with circles. You can use circles or X's or whatever you like. You really have a lot of time. When we're in class, you don't have time to do little pictures, but you could do butterflies or soccer balls or whatever you like. So we have 10 and 2 more. So the other 10 frame needs to have 2. And I'm going to do an X just to make it different. So there is my 10 and my 2 more. I'm going to trace that, and I'm going to write the number. I know that I have 1 10 frame. Sorry, I have a 10. So I need to write the 10. And then the 2 is going to take the place of the 0. The 2 is going to take over. So 10 and 2 more, and that number is 12, right? So you're going to do 10 and 3 more on your own. That is really it for our math today, and I will see you next time.